Hello, my name is Fitnat Assibey-Aboagye.
Hi, Fitnat. Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
I'm glad to have you here. I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy that you decided to join the project.
Thank you.
Yeah, it means a lot
Thank
to
you.
have you.
The project is so interesting, so I'm kind of excited about it because anything to do with community and immigrants as well, I find that it's so necessary in the sense that, like, as an immigrant, and people always think of other as the immigrant, but it's not. Someone who's integral to society, because we're always moving, especially Canadian society. So you always have to think about, where do I fit? So to me, an immigrant is just your niche. Which niche do you fit in, and where do you want to drag and talk to the other person? And so it's always ongoing, and there's no one who actually has. I kind of find it interesting that all people say to me quite often when I met them when I first came here, well, I'm 5th generation or 6th generation or 7th. I'm thinking like, you're lucky. I just got here and I'm eager to meet anyone else who just got here. But Marcus has not even got here anymore because it's been a number of years. It's been 12 years now.
Do you want to tell us a little bit where do you come from?
Okay, I was born in Ghana, raised in England, and spent most of my adult life in Germany. So that means I'm kind of used to adapting culturally, I would assume, but no. I came to Canada. It was a conscious decision to come to Canada because after I had my kids, I had lived in Germany enough to put my daughter through high school to realize, okay, I'd like her to be able to experience different cultures because that's something I experienced in England. Not so much a case of the different cultures just to be from one singular culture, but the constant awareness that you're not in kind of a monolith of one type of culture that is predominant. There's always a kind of swimming together of different cultures in England, and you always kind of feel like you're almost touring every other neighborhood, and you get to know friends and get to know people, so you always feel like you're a bit of everything. And I wanted that for my kids because growing up half German and half Ghanaian, they felt part of their communities, but they were in silos. And I kind of thought that's a bit of a loss. I mean, I'm not going to wait for them to become adults and then discover the world and travel. I want them to know it and recognize that's part of how we introduce and speak with each other and get to know each other better. So I really wanted a country that would reflect that, hence Canada, after some research. And law, planning. A lot of planning was involved, but reality is a little bit different.
Okay. And did you find what were you looking for?
Yeah, it's almost like if you do a research project, right? You know, if you're doing anything, if you're doing a science project, you have a question that you have beforehand. It's only when you answer the question and you realize how daft the question was originally, it's kind of myopic in the sense that you only see one perspective. And that's essentially the experience for Planning for Canada. I mean, I am by training a researcher as well. Like, I'm a trained journalist and I'm used to looking for things, and anthropologist, I'm always asking questions. So when I was planning to come to Canada, I treated it like a mission. And so I looked up everything. I looked up the PISA study, which is the international educational chart that they had. I looked up everything from creative artists, communities, literacy rate in Canada, from which one coast I swear I was excessive. And I kind of got a little bit smug because I felt, okay, you know what, this fits in so much with what I'm looking for, but I'm also into intuition as well. And at the time, in Germany, we were being bombarded constantly with, how do you say this, programs about life over there. And the life over, they had documentary films, they had regular movies, they had reality TVs about people who'd emigrated from Germany elsewhere, and predominantly Canada was #1, and as was the States, but we were like, and Canada was like everywhere I turned. So I thought, signs left, right, and center. The people I met, I used to work in a bookshop just before I left Germany, and the last 6 months before I left Germany, after we decided and did all our paperwork, I met 2 Vancouverites. As a fluke. I literally had just started the job, so I'd have some kind of like a transition job before I left, and I love books. We're obsessed with books when we were doing book art in Germany. So I thought, something fun, My colleague, whom I'd never met, had gone away for the summer, had returned on my second week there, was a Vancouverite, who had determined that she had decided to go back to Canada after 17 years in Germany. And the second week I was working with her, a client came into the store, a customer came into the store, and I was waxing lyrical about how beautiful Canada was, about this and that and the other, and oh, I need to look up recipes and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, a voice came from behind one of the shelves. But wait a minute, I'm from Vancouver. I said, shut up. We were like goosebumps everywhere, thinking, okay, this was meant to be. So there were lots of constant little signs as well as indicators to make it feel like this was the right thing to do. So between 1 + 1, we ended up with 4. And that helped up make our decision for Canada. We had, don't get me wrong, we had actually visited Canada before as a family because we figured we can't just do this blind. And everyone fell in love. And I had a bit of a cheat sheet because when I was 21, I did an exchange in Canada and I fell in love, but this was Toronto. We had planned to move everything over to Vancouver, having never been there, knowing no one from Vancouver, knowing nothing about Vancouver other than the fact there is no snow. Yeah. Reality check.
So the decision maker was like, no.
Yeah, I was steaming everything. I was not blind, but I was like, okay, this is good. You're doing this, you're doing. I think Marcus came for, Marcus, my husband, he came for an art, it's called Codex, it's a kind of a book fair, but for the States, and a friend of ours helped set it up, and they always used to come to us for the Frankfurt Book Fair, and so they had just arranged the Codex, and he had gone to San Francisco, and I said, dude, if you're going to San Francisco, you need to check out Vancouver. And I wrote an itinerary that would blow your mind out. The man could not breathe. I had worked out where he was going to have a cafe, where he was going to have his lunches, what he was going to eat in the evenings, what he was going to watch on TV. I told you obsessive, I'm not joking. And lo and behold, in true male fashion, he loved San Francisco, thought, oh my gosh, this is the place to be. Comes to Vancouver, it's raining, I don't like it, I hate it. I'm thinking like, don't you dare! I planned this. So we came despite that first reaction, and it was unexpected. It was unexpected because I had literally planned for everyone else to be, to counteract their culture shock, because they're all German-minded in the sense that my kids were brought up in Germany, they were brought up bilingual, but we always had family in England, so they kept going back and forth, but they weren't Anglo-immersed. So they were quite terrified. Well, my eldest, not the youngest. The youngest was kind of kindergarten age, and her idea was like, I'm making new friends! So when we were coming, I wanted to alleviate that, and also any resentment anyone might feel about leaving family behind. Yeah, left myself out of the equation.
Wow.
Completely. And I was hit like a ton of bricks, I think within 9 months of being here. After the holiday phase had gone out, yeah, it was pretty intense. Crying for my mama, so to speak. And I literally made a lot of assumptions about my capability of dealing with cultural differences, and I assumed they would be done with Canada because it's so similar, my choice, so similar to Britain, but different enough for it to be a curiosity for me to study and learn and find out about the different types of cultures and peoples, and no, that was a bit arrogant on my part, I think.
So, what was your challenges for yourself? You think
Most?
Yeah.
Okay, culture shock for one, and that kept hitting me between the eyes. From the smallest things, even for writing emails. It seems really banal, but writing emails, I would write emails like a letter. I would have to be told quite often that no Canadian has time to read that. Just state your business, state your point, and get out. And don't be rude, but and it took me, would you believe it took me a year to learn to write an email, because I was still fixated on the formality of, but I've got to introduce myself, but I've got to say who no. Brevity was key.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's quite challenging.
Yeah, it was quite challenging, and I think after culture shock, the biggest one was work. The work experience here has been a bit of a nightmare, to put simply. The reason why we came here was because it was so difficult to get here as a permanent resident, because there's so many hoops to jump through, and education was our vehicle for getting here, and we were, overqualified according to but when you get here, you can't get a job for toffee, and that was, the Canadian experience was a blockade for me. And I had read about it before, don't get me wrong, I had read about people who literally left the country because they said that the Canadian experience was so difficult, and they thought it's not worth sacrificing so much of yourself, especially when you've worked so hard to get the experience that you do have. And I seriously thought it was a case of you maybe didn't really want to come, you maybe just missed your family, but having experienced it for a number of years, it's not even like for 5 minutes, a number of years, then I realized that, I've got 2 degrees plus. I'm qualified journalist, broadcast journalist. I can't, and you work for the BBC for 5 years, but I can't get a job at the CBC, even as an intern or even an entry-level job, nothing. No radio station whatsoever. I had retrained. I worked as an ESL teacher in Germany and couldn't get a job at all. So I retrained. And what I did was I got a job for minimum wage, but I was thinking it's a job. And I volunteered like crazy. So now I'm retraining again to be a counseling professional. But I think this is more in alignment with my interests and skills, and just trying to find where I fit in within the community and what I believe I can add. But by the same token, it was frustrating as all get out. No lie.
Yeah, it's very hard. How long have you been here?
12 years.
12 years.
12 years. And honestly, it's only since the last 2 years, 4 years that I've kind of found myself in that respects. And everyone's always telling you, be patient, it takes time. But I'm thinking, I didn't come here as a 20-year-old, as a teenager. I did, but not here to live. And so it's a different set of commitments, friendships, alignments, and also energy that I brought to the table. I came here in my just before my 40s, and so I felt like I'm finished product. I don't mind starting from zero. That was actually something I was consciously aware of. You start from baseline. But I figured it would take a shorter period of time to make everything happen. And I felt literally like I had been like a ton of bricks pulled apart, and then I had to spend the time building again. And a lot of existential questions I had to ask about who am I, what do I want? And I realized the goal and the beauty of Canada is that it allows you to, almost like a David Cronenberg movie, look at yourself from inside out, reevaluate your priorities, and then makes you realize, okay, this is more of a spiritual journey. It's not just intellectual, economic, or academic. It's kind of like, who am I really? And I feel thankful for that, because I'm finding myself again. But by the same token, I'm like, damn, I worked hard.
In your own experience, you think that there's something that we can do as a community to help future newcomers?
Absolutely.
What?
Absolutely. I have been collecting ideas for newcomers for a long time. And some of the basic ones are almost having neighborhood mentors. Like when someone moves into unfortunately, I don't want it to sound like a checklist of people, but if you have newcomers or organizations like Success, Mosaic, because we were with Mosaic when we first came here, and people who have success, and then what you do is you have neighbors or people in the community who are willing to volunteer their time to become mentors, friend mentors. So when people come in, you can introduce them to basic things from shopping, to school, to the language. Because I know the library itself offers some programs where people in their own language can learn about how to use resources that are available to them in the community. But I feel also it's nice to have a buddy, who's a neighbor, who can help you do that. And I'm totally, because I'm from a collectivist society, right? I'm totally into the intergenerational thing. I want seniors to help me, darn it. I love seniors, and I feel like they're underused and underrepresented in Canada. I was like, In Ghana, some of the things that you would be doing and you'd be like kowtowing and bowing to the seniors, I love that, but I feel that we could actually introduce that kind of concept for having reading programs, for example, have seniors read to kindergarten kids, have them visit and they'll read, and vice versa. Have seniors who would help, who in professions, who would help high school kids with their homework or with their professional goals and intentions as a listening ear. And that's separate from school. And also have high school kids who teach seniors how to use computers or skills that they need to navigate the society as we're changing. I tell you, I have got loads of ideas.
That's great, that's great. I feel you. So do you have any message you feel like spreading for your neighbors about that?
Yeah, be patient, be kind, and also, you know, don't be isolated, don't be afraid. Literally, if someone moves into your neighborhood, please, you know, even under the guise of borrowing sugar you don't need, go ahead, borrow sugar, ask them, check in with them, ask them how they're doing. If you've made muffins, which is what I do, I make rock cakes, give it to my neighbor. I make a batch, have 3 extra, and say, you've never tried rock cakes? Try mine. And now my neighbors love the rock cakes. So if you see someone who's new, within reason, if I'm walking the dog, say hi. If they've got dogs, just talk to people in your neighborhood. Let people know that they're being seen. Let them know that you see them, you acknowledge them. And the nod is nice, but sometimes go that little bit farther. Because I feel that people are comfortable outside being polite and kind to each other, but they don't want to allow you into their own personal space. And I feel that's a particular quirk of, I've been told, West Coast. I can't be arguing that. I don't know. But all I know is that we can make the effort. It's a small thing. It's a small thing. And always food is the best way to get people, you know? Introduce them with common foods that you love, your favorites, and just share it if you can. And make it as unassuming and don't overthink it, just do it.
Okay, so you said you brought an emotional object with you when you moved to Canada. Do you want to tell us about it?
Sure. Well, this is my emotional object. It's an Ashanti gold weight, and basically in my clan where I come from in southern Ghana, these gold weights were our form of writing, communication. We have them in figurine form and we have them in geometric forms as well. But this is the one that I carried around with me all the time, and he symbolizes don't work hard, but don't work too hard to wear yourself out. It's important to also enjoy the moment and enjoy yourself. So this guy is always with me like sweat, like don't work hard, the symbolism of it. It's a long, don't worry, it's African. So especially Chi, it's double, triple, quadruple entendre, but the meaning that I follow is that don't work too hard. Always remember to take a moment for yourself as well.
To finish, I would like you to, if you can, and if you are willing to say the name of our project in any language you choose, because you came from all over the place.
Any language I choose, okay. Miniji se That's it.
Nice
Short.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you.